Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Sequel re-release. My name's Doug. So, the writer's strike is over. If you haven't heard the news, I'm telling you now, the writer's strike is over. Hopefully soon the actors get their due as well, and then me and Jamie can get back to our regular old formula: interview, sequel, interview, sequel, interview, sequel. I think you get the point. So it's hard to do a review every week. I know we tentatively had planned next week, Never Ending Story Part 2, but I don't know, this year's just flying by so quick. Next week's October. I think we got to do a horror movie, so we don't know what we're going to do yet. So Never Ending Story 2 on the back burner, horror movie next week. I didn't even tell Jamie what I want to do. Maybe I'll pick something really gross to gross him out. I don't know. But it'll be something fun. So anyway, me and him were texting back and forth because right now he's in Florida, a little much needed rest and relaxation. So we were talking and we were like, wow, what would be a cool thing to re-release, like an interview? So I've interviewed some amazing people over the last few years. I don't even want to say names because I don't want to leave people out, but some that I still can't believe. But one thing that was the most special moment of the last 5 years for me personally was when I connected with my buddy Chris Roush, who I met on Twitter at Bronson Tweets 9. He is the Charles Bronson of Twitter. We connected, and first we did a really rad interview with Joe Gonzalez. He played Rodriguez in Death Wish 3. Then somehow, I don't know how we did it, we got together. Well, Chris got together Alex Winter and Tony Spiridakis, two of the baddies from Death Wish 3 and a ton of other things. And then he goes, hey, do you think you can get Kirk Taylor? You know, the giggler himself. I interviewed him the year before in 2019 or 2020. Was it during COVID? I don't even know. I don't remember. But so we got them all together and we just thought we were getting these people back together that worked on a movie. They kept in touch, but what me and Chris didn't know was they really haven't seen each other, in like a friendship, intimate way in years. And we were just flies on the wall, just really enjoying every second of it. They talked about obviously how they landed Death Wish 3, memories of Charles Bronson, some things that were so funny. And I'll put the link to the video portion of it, because I think it's pretty cool seeing their reaction when they joined the chat. I loved it. It was so cool. And I did the face paint like the gang that they had in Death Wish 3, and they got a real kick out of that. So yeah, man, so special, man. I get like choked up thinking about it because it was one of those movies that was one of my dad's favorites, and we watched it a lot when I was a kid. So it's like one of those weird connections, this weird over-the-top action movie where a ton of people die, but I think of my dad. He passed away a few years ago, so pretty special. So do me a favor, if you're new here, please subscribe. You've been here before. You look great. I love what you did with your hair. And follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. Follow us, subscribe on YouTube. That really helps. And without further ado, here are the bad guys, the heavies from Death Wish 3.
Enjoy.
They don't know this, but that's why I'm here.
Yeah, me too.
I'm totally here because I want to see Alex.
Oh, yeah. You got him.
Man, how are you? I always want.
I'm really good.
I always want to grab you and give you noogies.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'll take them.
Yeah, it's so good to see you, man.
Yeah, really good. Where are you, in Long Island? Or in the city,
I'm in Long Island. Where are you?
Great. I'm in L.A. Yeah.
Are you living
I'm in a
there?
mix.
You're in a mix. Good for you.
I'm in South Pasadena, but
cool.
I'm in the Valley right now. But yeah, we're out in South Pasadena, the fam.
Nice. Yeah, I'm in Greenport. I'm on the water. I'm watching a sailboat go right by. It's that place that I always brought you guys to and loved the island. And I settled in Greenport, man, and
good for you.
I love it. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the last times we hung out for any length was out there.
That's right. And it's so funny because I had Tony Goldwyn was just out here and we were just talking about you. Do you remember we went over to the Hamptons?
Yeah, I do.
We broke into that country club. It was a beach club.
Yeah, that's right. We hung out there.
And we broke into someone's cabana and we totally hung out there. Oh my God. True. That was so fucking great.
I'm going to freak out. There's Kirk.
There's Kirk.
Oh my God.
What's up?
You look exactly the same. What the hell?
I've been sleeping in a freezer bag, just staying fresh.
Oh my God.
Bananas.
Wow.
So
good to see you too, man.
You know, guys. The two of you, don't you feel like it's just like we're right back there and totally nothing?
Yeah, it's scary, actually.
Yeah.
A little scary.
Thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
A trio of the nicest villains.
I know.
I was just telling these guys, I go, I don't know how we got to be villains, but we were the nicest guys.
Oh,
Winter only hired me because I had a British passport. He was very clear about that. Otherwise, I would not have been there.
And that's why I got it too. Exactly.
Yeah.
What, Tony? You had a British passport?
I married Kate O'Toole, Peter O'Toole's daughter, and I had just married her. He was going to throw me out of the office. And I remember I literally got into a yelling thing when Michael Winter was in New York. I started shouting at him. And he goes, you asshole. You're not British. I go, I'm married to a Brit. I have, and then he was like, oh, okay. And he changed and he hired
He makes
me.
it work.
It made it work. Totally.
Yeah.
It was because we were cheap.
Yeah, we were cheap.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, well, Kirk, he actually hired you for your talent. So
yeah, you're the only one who got hired for a job.
I think it was my look. I had just done a film called Streetwalking with Antonio Fargas, Julie Newmar, the original Catwoman. And I walked in with the shirt from that. And he says, I like that shirt. We want to put that in the movie. I think it was my shirt. I got the part because of my shirt.
Oh my God, that's hysterical. Oh,
holy crap!
Yeah. Well, hello, Chris and Doug. I don't want to be.
Oh no,
hey, Chris and Doug.
We're like flies on the wall. Hey, Kirk.
Alex, please.
How you doing, Alex?
Thank you very much for joining us too. By the way,
good.
Great to have you guys.
I love that mark on Doug's head, man. Doesn't that bring back memories, guys?
I literally burst out laughing because I was like, that is the lamest thing I've ever, who came up with that as being scary?
I'm sure Michael came up with that.
It's terrible. It's just the worst. What does it mean? It doesn't scare me at all. It makes us look ridiculous.
Was this the only one? Was this the only choice for anything, or was there other ones that you had?
Yeah.
That was it. They never gave us a choice.
We were presented with a very substantive selection of face logos, out of which we chose that one.
Oh no! Gavin showed up with that on his big Irish head, and I went, "Oh, I guess that's it."
That's it for us.
Oh,
I was so busy staring at his reverse mohawk, I don't think I noticed the thing on his forehead for a really long time. But
you guys remember the wars that were? I think Tony, you told me this, but there was a war going on of practical jokes on stage. And when I left, I heard someone had put eggs in someone's shoes. And the very last one, someone to Gavin, someone put X-Lax in his food. I never heard what happened. You don't know. I don't know if you guys have even heard. Dude, there was serious practical jokes.
That's not. Did he? I don't know that he would have found that.
Yeah, that's crossing the line.
You couldn't tell him. You have to wait a year, but you can tell him later.
Well, I mean, the whole shoot was like one big practical joke. We would.
Right?
You guys remember? Yeah, we'd go to I remember showing up on set. We had gone on during the weekend to go play pool in Camden or something. A bunch of us, you guys included. And I remember on set on Monday, because I remember Tony, you and I sidebarred on this, and Michael was like, "Oh, did you enjoy yourself playing pool in Camden this weekend?" And we're like, "Are you literally having us follow?"
Right.
What the hell?
We were
what
upset.
Is your problem? He was out of his mind.
And I remember, Kirk, you played, and this is, I can't, you know how sometimes your memory is like, oh, did I make that up or did that actually happen?
Yep.
Did you ever call me and pretend to be Stanley Kubrick?
That is so much my speed.
It is.
I remember you guys found out I crashed the Full Metal edition. It was an open call. And I crashed it. I didn't have an appointment. It wasn't an open call. I didn't have an appointment. And I went and what's his name? Leon made me wait till like 11 o'clock at night. And then I went in and I auditioned. And then I think the next day I got a call from you, and you were like, "Hello, this is Stanley Kubrick."
You know, I'm pretty sure that was me because I actually did that to get my audition. I heard that he was casting still when we were there, but I knew he had started casting like 2 years before, so I knew it wasn't the same film. It is the same film. Yeah. The guys, Doug and Chris, have heard that I called up, did a British accent. Hello, we have an actor here, Kirk is working with Mr. Bronson. You will love him. And they sent me in. They accepted an appointment from me. So I got in with a British accent. So I would, and then just BS my way through the rest of it.
Well, it was, I remember that, and I can't remember if it's real or not, but I do remember like telling you to go fuck yourself or something. That's
exactly what I would do.
And then the next day, I got a call from, and again, I can't remember if it was Leon. I think it was Leon. And I said to him, "Oh, fuck you, Kirk." And he went, "I don't know who Kirk is, but please don't talk to me that way." And I was like, "Whoa, what is it?" And then I got offered I had to then go back and read 2 parts.
Captain Lockhart January?
Or Lieutenant Lockhart.
Okay.
Right.
And I, of course, picked the one that got cut out of the film.
Dude, I just read that today. I knew that you were Captain January, and I knew that you weren't in the film for some reason, but I read the account that the actor that you were doing the scene with, this was a big scene. This was the biggest dialogue scene, I think, in the film, something like that. And they said that the actor that you were working with, Stanley, watched the footage and was like, this guy's out of sync. Mm-hmm. Cut it out. It's like, oh my gosh.
No kidding.
Yeah. It was unbelievable because, that was like, that's what made me, there are 2 things that go along with that. One, I had also gotten in to see James Cameron on Aliens.
I did too. I remember meeting Gail and Jim.
Gail and Jim, they wanted me to be Hudson. And so I was like, oh, I just got offered Captain January. Which we didn't even know what the part was at that time. Like, it was like, they were like, no, it's the middle of the film. So I remember talking to my agent and talking to my friends, and they're like, you can't say no to Kubrick. And I was like, I fucking love Terminator. Like, I was like, please, God, like,
me too.
And I was like, basically, whether they would have gone with me ultimately or not, that was what they wanted me to read and do. That's what James was very, very excited, and he was ridiculously overt. Gail was much more reticent, and, she was the adult in the room. You could tell, like that was their relationship. So I gravitated towards him, and then I said, "No, I can't do it, guys. I just got offered a role in Full Metal Jacket," and they were like, "Oh, thanks, congratulations," and and that was the end of it.
A year of your life.
Cut to, I'm completely cut out.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I had gotten 5 Corners in New York, and John Shanley's first film.
Yeah.
That Tony Bill was directing. And then a week before I go in, I had done my wardrobe and everything. Tony Bill calls me and he goes, we're firing you for no reason other than that John Patrick Shanley has casting approval, and he and John Turturro think you look too much like John Turturro to play this. I mean, I had a much smaller role, and John was this amazing. He was very great in that movie. But anyway, because John and I had gone to Yale, and I think he had it in for me. I don't really think I look like fucking John Turturro, but I got fired and I never showed up. And me and Elizabeth Barrage had auditioned, and I got the role. I was so excited, and then I find out right after that I get cut out of Full Metal Jacket. I get a call from fucking Stanley, and that was the end of that. And I thought, I got to start writing.
Yeah.
I was going to say that those kind of things, those misses that we have in our careers lead us in. It's almost like a pathway changes, and we end up going a different direction.
But if it wasn't for
Kirk,
Full
where
Metal,
do you live? Are you out West Coast?
I'm in North Hollywood. How about you?
Oh, I'm actually right now. I'm in North Hollywood.
You guys can have coffee.
Get out of here! Wait a minute. I think I see you from my window. Alex, I'm right near the park. The Amelia Earhart Library.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two days ago, I walked by it and a guy has crashed his car into the freaking thing, destroyed his car, and Amelia didn't even move.
Really?
This guy was taken away. I watched the cops. You know how curious we all are. I stopped and watched the cops for like 10, 15 minutes as they do the breathalyzer test. They did the touch your nose. And at one point, the guy collapses and hugs one of the cops. I was like, oh, he's gone. That's it.
So I got to ask if you guys have any specific questions you wanted us to answer for you regarding this experience.
We could do this all.
Because otherwise, we haven't seen each other in a really long
time. That's awesome.
I know.
This hour
I love
will be
it.
Over.
I love it.
And clearly, we all need to get together.
Yeah, for sure.
So true.
This is way
Oh,
over
man.
you.
I really look forward to being in touch with you guys. And Tony, are you here?
I'm in New York. I'm in Long Island.
Oh, you're in Long Island.
I gave up the mothership 3 years ago.
Wow.
I I sold my place. I had a place in it was like Sherman Oaks. In the hills, and I loved it till my boys both graduated high school there, and they both picked colleges on the East Coast.
Oh man,
my son, my youngest son, is going to Bard.
Amazing.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
That's so great.
Yeah. And
wow, congratulations.
Went to Bard
Alex, I know about Bard because of Alex, really, in a weird way.
Yeah, I used to live next. My wife went, and I lived next door.
Right, exactly.
For years.
Okay.
And Jane Muskie taught there. Remember, and Jane Muskie was your teacher.
I do.
So there was this whole weird.
Jane
and when
Muskie.
my son picked Bard, I was like, I know Bard, and then I figured it out. But anyway, I gave up 3 years ago and came to the East Coast, and they both picked colleges on the East Coast. So
that's perfect
now
that you can be there for them.
And now I'm not moving. Yeah, I love it, and just writing. I'm only writing, so for me, it's not hard to. I don't have
be anywhere,
tons of meetings or any of that stuff. It's good.
Not until this interview comes out. And then,
then you're gonna go like, just put that thing on my head, and you can see I will be in every horror movie or action villain in every. Oh my God, Doug, that is.
So what questions have you got?
So tell us.
It's funny how you all mentioned that you kind of got these roles kind of out of convenience because you were there, but it seemed like the scripts kind of called for you guys to be the characters to be Latin, maybe. Which you all kind of fit that part. Because Alex, you were Hermosa.
I don't know what you mean.
It was Angel.
That's right.
I was Hermosa.
Hermosa.
Yeah, I do know a few words in Latin, though. To be fair.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, I auditioned in New York. It was in this dingy. I don't know, Tony, if you went to the same place, if Kirk, you did. It was this dingy room. Like all the way over on the west
11th Avenue or something.
Exactly. Yeah, all the way over by the river. And Michael was like in this windowless little hovel. Yes. And it was that European style audition where they don't ask you to read anything; they just talk to you. Yeah, and he talked to me, and he kept saying over and over again. He had a cigar in his tiny little windowless room. He kept saying. I'm offering. He literally started the conversation with this. I'm offering you a damn good pot. A damn good pot. He kept saying over and over again. And I was like, what do you mean you're offering me? I'm like, I just sat down. Like, what? Do you say that to literally everyone who comes in? Right. And then just see how they react. And if they say yes, then they actually get the damn good part, But it was all about my British. He knew, similar to Tony, he knew that I was a UK dual. But I didn't have a British passport. He said, well, you can't do this without a British passport. All I had was like a stamp because my brother, who's also British, couldn't get a British passport. They just wouldn't give him one. And Michael said, don't worry, I'll do that for you. I'll take care of it. Because he was Michael Winner. He was like, the landed gentry.
Right.
And sure enough, like within a week, I had the damn good part and a British passport, which to this day I still have.
Wow.
So that's why I was there.
Did any one of you guys did you do under British Equity or SAG?
Oh, dude, I can't remember. I honestly can't. It was Canon movie. It was Canon movie. Was there any union involved at all?
Do you get residuals?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it was English.
They put you under Brit, and they got me on Full Metal Jacket because my agent, I was so excited about getting. She put me under a British Equity contract, and I found that they don't get residuals.
Right.
Yeah. Well, You read the story about Stanley Kubrick and Malcolm McDowell playing ping pong, right? Like that dude wasn't going to pay anybody anything that he didn't have to pay them.
I know, I didn't know that story.
That's an amazing story, but another time.
It's great.
Yeah, he basically jipped McDowell out of all of his VO on Clockwork. And when his agent complained, he was like, "He played ping pong with me. He didn't." He was from the Bronx. He was like, he played ping pong. He wasn't doing VO, and he paid him like $5.
Oh, I love it.
No, I had done 3. I did a mini series in Spain called Harem that was for ABC with Nancy Travis and Omar Sharif and Yaphet Kotto. And they got me. But I had learned my lesson from Death Wish and from Stanley, and so I made the agents like do something where I tried something, and I actually got an extra amount of money to offset because it was bullshit. The Brits got screwed. Like they didn't get. They really did, and we have really learned. I learned that we had great collective bargaining. That unions were amazing, and that the Brits were not treated well.
Even to this day.
And Cannon on top of that. I mean, you put Cannon on top of the UK situation. I mean, I did 2 movies for Cannon back to back, that one and Haunted Summer. And by Haunted Summer, I was just like, dude, just save your per diem. Like, I just went into that going, I'm not going to make whatever money I make on this is going to be like by not staying in a hotel, not, and literally just squirreling away my cash. So that was how I earned any money off of either of those things. It was saving my per diem.
Wow.
Kirk, do you remember did you audition same spot in New York?
I remember being in an office with Michael alone. I don't remember if he was smoking a cigar or not. I was such a young actor. I was just happy to be in there. I would have breathed napalm if they wanted me to. But I read a little bit, but it was sort of what the guys described, that kind of European style where they just kind of talk to you and then offer you the part. And that's one of the films I do get residuals on. And there was my first film getting residuals as far as I remember. And I used to throw my SAG mail out. Like vote. I was like, I'm not voting. I don't care. I'm not going to vote. And I went to throw out this envelope, and I was like, just open it. It looked a little different. Dude, it was a check from MGM for $5,000.
Nice.
I went in the garbage. I opened everything. In my garbage at that point and never threw anything out again. Because I couldn't believe I was getting money.
Death Wish 3?
Death Wish 3. I couldn't believe I made that much. I mean, it was just such a big deal. And then some of the other films.
I honestly wouldn't have said that publicly because I think someone from Canada is
it was a mistake.
We sent you how much?
With interest.
That's true.
Yeah, you owe us $30,000.
Yeah, forget it. Oh my God.
Oh man. So when you guys auditioned, you knew, obviously, did they tell you, hey, this is Death Wish 3, or was it under another title?
Oh, it was Death Wish.
Oh, you knew? Okay.
It was Death Wish, yeah.
I think it was Choirless and Crusted when I
they changed it. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
No, it was Death Wish 3 with Michael.
And
Winner.
we all,
it's all he did. He was cranked out Death Wish.
And we all knew Christopher Guest, Goldblum had all been.
Fishburne.
There was a tradition of really good actors, very not. Violent, evil, villainous guys.
Yeah.
Playing these characters.
That had all been bad guys. So I thought, that can't hurt me. This is really, there's a tradition.
I felt the same thing. It was
really
like,
good actors, right. And
come
I thought, okay, and it gets me to London. Oh my God, it was all good. It was.
I know.
I didn't.
To be honest, we had a really, it took, I would argue, we were all like a little hydra, the 3 of us, and there was 2 other actors. But once we got there and realized, Michael's out of his mind, and the set was, somewhat dangerous and very misogynistic and very, whatever. And the movie was obviously a pile of utter rubbish. But we had a really good time. We had a super fun time.
We were enjoyed in London. That.
Yeah, we had fun on set, and the whole crew kind of took the piss out of Michael all the time. So it was sort of, he was in his own world, and everyone else was in theirs. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like his authoritarianism and the kind of weird quasi-abusive nature of the way he operated. It didn't really fan out much. It was sort of localized, Pigpen and the cloud of dirt around him, Because everyone on the crew was pretty great, and we actually had a really good time, as I remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Weren't we staying in Elephant and Castle? Was that it?
Yeah, we were in Elephant Castle. Yeah, right on Lambeth.
Which was great.
Right
I mean, I remember thinking, oh my God, I love being there. I mean, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. As much horror story as there is to the whole Michael Winter thing, he had this sort of way about him. Once we settled in, we were just, that was, and then I remember thinking, oh my God, we got to work with who? The 12 Angry Man guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
amazing.
The one we beat up, Charlie. Martin Balsam.
Yeah. Beat up Martin Balsam. Who gets to say that? Take one of the kindest, gentlest, most wonderful, and we beat him up.
We tenderized him a little more.
Yeah.
But we also, I think Bronson, who was, on to the third movie, you guys may remember, I have a terrible memory. I can't remember whether his wife was either dead or dying.
No, she was on set.
She was on set. But she had been diagnosed, and we all knew she was not.
Yeah, because he was pretty preoccupied and very kind of inwardly sad,
and sweet, and very sweet. I remember
he was super nice, and I think really enjoyed hanging out with us. We were New York theater actors primarily.
I was telling the guys the story, Alex, that he wanted me to change my name, and he kept
Tony Spirit.
Yes,
I remember that. I remember that conversation.
That was another one that I thought I imagined, but it's fucking true.
Yeah. He said you can't be Tony Spiridakis. No one's gonna. You have to be Tony Spirit. Just get rid of the rest of your name. And you were like, I remember you were like, I mean, lovingly, but we were a bunch of wise asses. You were like, dude, you named yourself after a fucking street. Why should I take advice from you?
You said that?
Yes. My mouth got me into so much trouble too. Because really, and the best part, Alex, I said to him, I turned to him one day and I said, listen, just stop it. I said, think of John Cassavetes. And that was my big Waterloo moment. He looked at me and he went, I rest my case.
Exactly.
Who the hell knows who John Cassavetes is, you idiot? You need to be Tony Spirit.
Yeah,
I mean, he would not back off. And the truth is I should have listened to him. But you know what? The guys, Doug and Chris, were asking, did you have the same experience I did? Because you're right, Alex. He was so kind. Yeah. Why did he notice us? We could have been not even spoken to.
I think that he knew that sort of like the other actors that Winter hired. He always hired these kind of interesting New York-y, theater-y type actors. And Bronson, had come from a really serious background and had sort of now found himself churning out these action movies, and I'm sure he felt a kinship with us. That's what I felt.
I remember, that's so great that you remember that he was. I was telling the guys he was super kind to us. Really,
he was. Yeah,
you're talking about really Bronson, right? Bronson.
I'm talking about Bronson and Kirk. I remember the Kirk story. I remember about Bronson was that. Bronson was always, and rightfully so, because it was a lower budget movie, and it was the opposite of whatever the no expense spared slogan is. A lot of our sets were really filthy, and Bronson would always be really nervous about being in those sets. And one day he was sitting alone in the set, and no one else had the nerve to go in because they were afraid that they were going to get yelled at, on the crew, because the set was really dirty. And Kirk, do you remember the story? You were like, guys, I'm going in. I'm going into the cave. And you genuinely just wanted to make sure he was okay. And you went in and you came out, you were ashen. And we were like, you'd gone in to see Grendel and his hair. And we were like, dude, what happened? What happened in there? And you were like, so I went up to Bronson. He was sitting in the dark by himself on a stool, and he was dead quiet, and there's no one else there. And I was like, Mr. Bronson, can I get you anything? Are you okay? And he said, Kirk, sit down. And he said, you have to eat a banana every day, Kirk. And you were like, what? It's like, you have to eat a banana. A banana will keep your immune system strong. You have to eat a banana every day. And you were like, backed out of the room. Came out, and you were like, I just had the weirdest freaking conversation with
my God.
I think,
do you remember that?
I actually, probably because of the trauma of it, I blocked it out.
I remember it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
eat a banana every day. That would make me back out now. A guy sitting in the dark talking about bananas?
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I think after that, you always wanted to. You were like, as a joke, we were like, should we make sure Bronson has a banana? Should we get him? So someone go to craft service and get Bronson a banana.
And then we had that sweet woman that I had to grab her, and she was like, "It's okay," and I had to like
Marina.
Yeah.
Marina, who's like an amazing actress.
Marina Sirtis.
Amazing things.
I literally like had to like fondle her against the car.
Being a woman in a Charlie Bronson movie is
horrible.
It was.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you guys remember the part they cut out?
Yeah.
I guess I improvised this, and I said to Gavin, I said, we already had brutalized her. I said, can I do it? Can I do it? Can I go back? He said, yeah, go ahead, hurry up. And they did a shot where there's smoke. Gavin's is trying to light a cigarette, and you see me go in, and you see the figure of what's going on. And I grabbed Marina's arm, improvising this, and I turned it up and slapped it at the same time, like it broke. But I slapped it so freaking hard that Gavin dropped his cigarette. Everyone was so shaken up by this because she screamed. I just said, pop, pop, smacked it. It looked like it broke. And then when I walked out, I said, okay, we can go now. And we walked out. and Winter wanted to keep that in. It was brutal, dude. It made you want to kill the giggler more. You would have had to say, you killed the giggler and he deserved it. But Michael called me and said that the film had gotten an X rating.
Wow.
And he said he confronted them. He says, why? He said, you killed too many people. He said, what about Rambo? And they said, they're Asian. No. True story. And he said to me, if they give us an X rating, I'm putting it back in. Because it was that brutal. Right. I'm kind of glad they didn't put it back in because I felt bad enough. I felt, as I told Doug, I felt like they should have killed me 3 scenes earlier or something. I've done such crazy, dude.
Yeah, we were all sort of just letting you lead because I would have not been. The scene I had to do with Marina, Michael had convinced me to do my own stunts, which basically meant he got to toy with me all the time. I'm a flipping moron for saying yes. And I don't know if you guys remember that one night I had to like jump on the hood of a car goes down in the underground parking lot. I fall off and Bronson's supposed to hit me in the chest with a crowbar. And we did it over and over and over and over and over all night long. And the stunt coordinator was getting so pissed. He was like, Michael's just screwing with this kid. He wants to get him hurt. And Bronson wouldn't hit me with the lead pipe. And every time I fell off the car, got up, said some line that I improvised because it was stupid. And like, you're mine now, bitch, and I'm going to eat you or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just because I'm, how can I make myself look sillier? And Bronson would step out of the shadows and he wouldn't hit me. And that went on for like 7 or 8 takes. And eventually Winter took Bronson aside. And I stepped close so I could hear it. And Winter's like, Charlie, we're going to be here all night. You have to hit this lad. And Bronson says, Michael, I can't hit this kid. He looks like a fucking choir boy. I'll lose my audience.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
that's
goodness.
That's perfect.
Oh, man.
Wow. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So you did all your stunts. So that final scene, Alex, that's you when Ed Lauder shoots you and that's you falling?
That's just me falling into like a mattress, like a foot off of camera. But yeah, that's me.
Speaking of which, I hate to bring up the bad, that this is the bad reunion of bad guys.
Yeah.
There was if I'm not mistaken, there was a terrible accident on Death Wish 3.
I remember watching.
We were together. We were standing. The three of us were probably together because they lit the face of the. It's a faux building, right? And then they lit up and then this very sort of an illustrious stuntman in the UK. He was beloved.
Rocky Taylor. Was it Rocky Taylor?
Rocky Taylor.
Yeah.
Wow. Well done.
Well
Kirk.
done. And
I remember it.
And I remember it was Rocky this, Rocky that, and we're going to watch Rocky do this cool stunt. And the building apparently had too much accelerant, and the flames went flying up the side of the building, and Rocky came flying off the building and did not hit his mats. He missed. Yeah. Did you know that, Chris? Did you know about this?
He wrote a book about his career, and I believe the cover of that book is him jumping off that building.
Well, it's a memoir because he I don't think he lived. Did he live through that?
I thought he
lived.
I thought he died.
I thought he died.
He lived?
He really.
I know it was really bad. I remember it.
Really got hurt, but yeah, he did.
Oh wow! Because we were. I'm telling you, the three of us. We were. I was in shock. I was like, I'd never seen a stunt like that, and then to have him be injured during it, I was like, what the.
But there was a few of those. There was the other guy who, the stunt guy we used to hang out with all the time, who was really nice. He was about our age, brunette, with kind of like a short cropped haircut. Can't remember his name. And he had to do that stunt where he came out the side of the building, went through the two glass roofs.
Oh, yes.
And it was the day that, like, I don't think it was the Queen of England, but like we were shooting, the set was built in Lambeth Hospital, which is where Charlie Chaplin had been born. It had huge historical significance in London. So we used to have these very illustrious guests come to watch the shooting. And the shooting would be like people being gang raped in the middle of like the set. You're like, oh, hello, would you like a spot of tea as you watch the filming today? Like, action, gang rape. And, oh, marvelous, Michael, But someone came to watch that day who was like super illustrious. I don't remember who it was. And he got really badly injured because they were always cutting corners doing his stunt. He broke his leg or whatever doing. So it was one of those horrible moments where someone does this amazing stunt and then there's just dead silence and you realize he's not getting up.
It's something about people getting hurt making a movie that's just ridiculous. It's like.
And then add to that, making that movie.
Right.
Oh, we invest our lives into these films, and the people are getting hurt. It's crazy. Yeah. My wife is a script supervisor, and she was on a show called L.A.'s Finest with Gabrielle Union, Jessica Alba, John Sally, the basketball player. I love that guy. He's so tall that it's ridiculous. I never felt that small in my life. And on her set, the last day, they're finishing the season 1, and a stunt goes wrong. The stunt driver hits one of those big metal containers that are on the ships and pushes it on top of one of the producers on his leg. And all you can hear was screams. They had to cut his foot off. I just can't.
Oh my God.
I just can't get over that kind of stuff when it happens. And then poor Rocky, I'm glad to hear he made it. I wasn't sure either, but it's just something about these and this injury that just happened recently. This murder that happened. I don't know. Just makes you pause because this is, we do this. This is fantasy. I mean,
where we want to come and have fun, and it becomes like a family unit, and then something like that happens,
it does.
And then you're just you're just so betrayed by the process, and you don't know what to do. There's nothing to do with your anger, and it's awful. It's awful.
There's nothing to do.
Yeah, in the wild '80s and the Golden Globus era was pretty rowdy. So I mean, it was a lot of corners were being cut. Right. And, so things were always being pushed to the arm.
Right. The safety was less than today, right?
It was.
I'm surprised there weren't more injuries.
Right.
Maybe there were.
Maybe it wouldn't be paid him off not to talk about
canon film.
Right.
Yeah.
So what else is on your mind, guys? What other?
Well, Tony, how about your scene? You didn't do your own stunts. He didn't convince you, right?
Oh, I think I did. Mine was easy though. I mean, I just said a stupid line. I mean, I remember being in a window or out of a window or something, and then I just fall forward. And I think it's similar to what Alex said. You just fell on a.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not
on a map.
I have to say, I feel like I was the biggest letdown as a villain of all of the villains. No, 100%. I was telling these guys, Kirk, I was telling these guys, not you, but I'd have people that I am very close to get somewhere in the universe getting stoned, and Death Wish 3 would show up on the TV, and they felt compelled to call me wherever I was, whatever time zone I was in, and would whisper, "They killed the Giggler, man! They killed the Giggler!" And it was in a mocking tone, I must say, because it was said so badly. I mean, I remember thinking, just hearing it, it caught me. It was like, I shouldn't be an actor. Like, this is so easy to say this stupid line, but I did it with like emotion, and it was ridiculous. And I watched you guys.
I felt like you cared about me. I feel like you cared about me. Like when I heard it, I said, "You damn right. Say it twice. Say it twice."
I had a little tear. Like, it was so stupid.
Dude. It was so iconic, though, Tony. And it really is. And I'm gonna tell you, this is a true story. I swear, this is 10 years ago. I'm sitting in church during the service. And some guy, I think I found out later he was an actor, he comes up behind me, he said, "They killed the giggler, man. They shouldn't have done that. They killed the giggler." And he ran out of church. I said, "Who was that?" I turned to my wife. I said, "What the hell?" Oh my gosh, if it had been you, I would have lost my mind.
Oh my God, that's just so.
He literally whispered that in my ear. He whispered in my ear.
I've never lived that.
Tony, could you repeat that line for us?
No, I can't repeat that line. They killed the giggler, man. They killed the giggler. Like, it's terrible. It's just terrible. How do you say that? And you got. I mean, how do you say that? Like, I've been thinking about it for my whole life, and now I'm.
Well, the dialogue was so bad that I remember we just rewrote a lot of it. Like I had lived a lot of my lines, and we would just. It was only a movie that where like you'd kind of trolled the movie, where like you'd find ways to somehow upend it in different ways, in subtle ways, But I honestly, I hadn't seen it really a long time. It got showed at something that I was showing some stuff at, and there's good stuff in it. Kirk is actually really good.
That's what I'm saying. Kirk, and I think I felt pressure to like honor Kirk, I was like, I better get this right, man. He's such a good man. Like, I was always like, why is Gavin the leader of this gang? Like, Kirk should totally be the leader of this gang. Like,
whoa,
yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, it was like, it was definitely, you were a great evil dude. Kirk, you were much better.
Well, man, I appreciate you saying that. And I was pretty traumatized on set. I didn't do half the stuff I wanted to do because I told Doug this, that we were on. I think we were still in Brooklyn. Remember, we shot a couple weeks in Brooklyn. Were you there? Yeah, you guys were there. I can't remember if it was Brooklyn,
East New York.
Yeah, maybe it was
East
there.
New York.
East New York.
It was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it
Brooklyn,
was there or it was in London, but I was getting ready to do my first scene where I run, where the guys chase me, and I was just kind of like, I was really excited. I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in the film. Okay, get ready. What's the giggler? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And Michael Winner starts calling me. But I didn't really hear it clear. I was like, I could hear a sound. Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor, your part is diminishing rapidly.
What the hell,
dude? Like how
what does that mean?
A good director will set a vibe on set where you want to give your kidney for him, right? As soon as he did that, I was like, "No, I just got yelled at in front of the crew and everybody, and basically he's going to cut my part down. So I'm not going to do any of that stuff I was going to do. I'm not going to run backwards because I was going to turn and run backwards. I'm saying I'm so fast, you old fart, that I'm going to turn around backwards and run. I really was going to do that, but at that point, I calculated. I said, let's just keep it pretty safe because this guy is brutal. And I don't know if you remember guys seeing the newspaper. Do you see that fake newspaper with something like the Herald? And it says, Michael Winner killed by a falling scaffold. All 200 crew members claim responsibility.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God!
On set,
there you go.
All 200.
Well, there was a moment in England where a 5K fell near him, and there was all this scuttlebutt that or a 10K light that a crew member had tried to crush him
and fucked up, and they missed
with a light.
It was so weird about him because he was kind of a charming dictator. Like you liked him. I liked him. He was the one that helped me. I called him when I had in Full Metal Jacket. I had the number 4 lead. I had Dorian Harewood's role, and it was called 8 Ball from the novel. And I stuck into the audition. I got it, and I'm preparing. I learned about the New Orleans culture and accents and all that kind of stuff. I spent all my money. I even spent my last $75 to buy a VCR so that I could watch Stanley Kubrick movies. It ended up being a box. Honestly, a box of bricks. I bought a box of bricks.
Oh no!
I was so bummed out. It was like my last 75. I said, okay, it's okay. Then Liam Vitale calls me and says, Kirk, sit down. I said, why? He said, Stanley thinks you're not dark enough to play that character. There's references to Jungle Bunny, Spear Chucker, Jigaboo. He doesn't think you can pull it off. And I literally collapsed on the floor in my apartment, and I cried for come on, I'm broke. I just like you lost this big project. I'm screwed. And I remember I cried and I got up and I wiped my face. I was like, not without a fight. And one of the first people I called was Michael Winner and asked him what I should do. And so I started putting feelers out. I called Tim Johnson from British Equity. I called everybody, and Leon eventually called back and said, Kirk, don't misunderstand. Stanley loved you. He said, you're one of like 2 or 3 people he's even taken from videotapes. He said, but it's not right for that. He wants to offer you Sergeant Payback. And so that's how I got Payback. And that poor guy that was Payback ended up being the door gunner, I think, for Full Metal Jacket. But Michael helped me. And so I really liked him, even though it was a weird kind of a love-hate relationship where he was kind of brutal and egotistical and mean-spirited. But then he was charming and lovely, and he had a British accent. So.
Yeah.
Something about the British accent.
Stanley must have
agree,
focused on tans, because when I showed up after getting Full Metal, I went back and spent the summer running on the beach to get in shape, right?
Nice.
And I got there and I was too dark. And he said to me, I walked in and, there's all the white guys from L.A., right? Arliss Howard and Matt Modine and all,
right.
Adam Baldwin, and they're all like white, pasty white guys. And I walk in, and in the summer, I get like really dark. I get super dark. I'm dark right now, and it's October.
Yeah, you got a good tan.
Walking, and it's my skin. Anyway, I walk in, and Stanley goes, "Oh no, this won't do at all. This is bullshit." And he yells, Leon. He goes, "Get him the makeup," and he sent me to makeup 2 times to put a fake mustache on, and he was gonna, and I'd walk in and he'd go, "Captain Rodriguez," and all the guys, all the actors would be in the background laughing their asses at me. I'd come back with a Fu Manchu and he'd go, "Captain Sanchez," and then you'd hear like Matt Modine go, "We don't need no badges," and finally he's gonna send me back for a 3rd time, and I go, "Dude, you know what? This is bullshit." And I pull him aside. And I see those fucking guys over there? That's your fucking problem, not me. I'm a captain in the jungle. Did you see Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
I'm a surfer. I got surfing going on. I'm in the jungle. What are they doing? Where did they come from? And then I just went back they sent me back to my hotel, and I thought I was fired. And Leon called me up at 11 o'clock at night. He goes, "You're going to get picked up in the morning." 5:30 a.m. I got picked up. They bring me over to that room that they had rehearsals in, and Stanley's making coffee, and he goes, "You like coffee?" And I go, "Yeah." And there's nobody there, and we sit down, we have coffee, and I'm thinking I go, "Look, I'm sorry what happened, I'm sorry, but I did my research." A half an hour later, the door opens and all the guys came in. They had been to a tanning salon. He sent all the actors
what a good story.
to a tanning salon. And that was that. And they all looked at me and I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, that is the coolest thing. And he left me alone.
Wow.
But he did have trouble with lighting. Whoa. Like he'd show me because he remember Kirk, he took those beautiful Polaroids, like with that machine. I have one of them. He took one of me and I looked at it and I was like, "God, I'm dark. Like, you can hardly see me. Like, it was really hard. It must have been a pain in the ass to light me, whatever, because there's Matt Modine and there's me." But anyway, it was, what a crazy great experience. And yet, it, he didn't like tans. He was but he was such a detail freak, and he was a cinematographer. So everything he saw, he saw through the eyepiece, and that was what he saw, period. Yeah. It didn't.
He was always ready to adjust, though. Like remember the girl, do you remember meeting that girl that was the Viet Cong, the sniper? And remember, she was like 15 years old, and she worked with us for 3 weeks, and then she said, "Okay, I'm going back to Paris. I'll see you guys soon. I'll be back to shoot." Yeah. Never saw her again, because Stanley went back to the details, went back to his vision, said, "I want to shock people with this. She's too old. I want an 8-year-old." And he hired an 8-year-old to play that role. So he was constantly willing to change stuff if it didn't fit the vision. And he was brutal.
He would say, we were doing a scene, and he'd say they were playing a poker game, and he'd look at me and he'd go, "That guy over there is acting, isn't he?" And I'd be like, I was afraid to answer. I was like, he was just an extra, but he was, he was trying to act. And Stanley was like, he was acting too much, right? That he was like,
right.
And that guy was gone. Like 2 minutes later, a big hook. He was gone. It was scary. Oh, it was scary.
Was Michael Winner like that?
Michael Winner was not like, I think.
It was the exact
not
opposite.
At all.
Yeah.
Michael Winner acted like he was like that, but he was not like that. He was a softie, I think. He was a softie in heart.
Yeah, he kept saying it's an A picture. It's an A picture. And I remember John Stanier on the deck with the camera up his eyepiece. He goes, "Not even a Z picture."
Oh, that's great. I love that. No, it's true.
I mean, everybody knew, but everyone was in on the joke, but Michael. I mean,
and I honestly think he genuinely, like the way he helped you, Kirk, with that problem. Like, I think that's who Michael, honestly, he gets pleasure from, like, finding this ragtag group, and then they become his. And, you know, and he and Kubrick were degenerate gamblers together. I don't know if you know that. Oh
no, I knew
they were famous to be up till all hours at the after hour. Gambling in London was a very gentleman kind of private club kind of thing, and it was not legal, but they did it in these very controlled, beautiful locations. And apparently, Winter and Stanley were at each other constantly, and Borman as well. Yeah, that was like
Really, that makes sense because I knew they were friends, and so maybe he made a call for me.
You know, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
I felt he was very sympathetic and wanted to help. Yeah, you know, he wanted to help.
Yeah.
So I will say the film has lived on much more than I thought.
Right.
You know, it's shown all the time. I did a screening of it at the Music Box Theater in Chicago, which was pretty much sold out.
Whoa.
I mean, people love the movie. They get, you know, some people like are adherents of it. You know, they take it straight, and some people love it as like, you know, almost satire. But people still love that movie. It's so funny to me.
Well,
it's crazy. It's over the top, really.
Well, you hire rapists and killers who are lovely people. And it's a subliminal, like, oh, I have to see that movie. Those guys are really nice.
Yeah.
That's I think that's the formula. I love that about I can't hit him. He looks like a choir boy.
Yeah,
I'm going to lose my audience.
Great line.
Oh, man. What a great compliment.
What did you guys think of the movie when it first came out? Did you go to any premieres or anything for it?
No.
I don't think they had one for us, did they?
They didn't have a premiere. I saw it in Times Square. Kirk, did you and I see it together?
We might have, We might have. Yeah.
Saw it in Times Square, like one of those Times Square theaters. It was really fun because, you know, I grew up mostly in New York, and you go see movies like that in Times Square, and the audience was so riotous, and they would talk to the screen and throw things and yell. So it was like theater. People were just talking and yelling and up and down in their seats the whole time. And
I had heard that
it was an experience.
I heard that Bronson was upset because it was so super violent and just kind of over the top, like satirical violence, and that he forbid Michael Winter from directing the next one. He would not do it if Michael Winter directed.
J. Lee Thompson, right? Mm-hmm. From then on,
You know what? They did 4.
They did 5.
That was 4.
Well, yeah, J. Lee Thompson did the 4th one. The 5th one, I don't even know who directed that. Really, wasn't that good. That was made in.
Yeah, Kirk told me how everybody went nuts when they killed a giggler. Like the theater, like erupted, and he told me like how like happy he was, like that he was able to evoke that emotion. You know.
I was when they said about me putting a knife in a girl's head, I was like, okay, that's enough. Damn it, that's enough. It was. I told you guys a little bit about that. They put a bulletproof. I'm going to shoot the scene where I'm getting shot, and they put a bulletproof vest on me. Okay, that's suspicious. Then they put a freaking metal plate on top of the bulletproof vest. I was like, okay,
good
shit.
Lord.
And then they said, okay, because it's how do you say it? Wildy? I don't know the gun. Wildy. Because it's a Wildy, it would leave a gigantic hole even going in, and then a big one coming out. He'd be like a grapefruit. He said, so we're going to put 5 charges and 5 blood packs on the front and back. I was like, oh my God. And so they ran a wire down my leg, and they said, you know, that I did the scene. They said, run. And they touched the wires together, and that thing punched me like, it was like, pow! Somebody punched me in the spine, and I flipped and rolled and laid out. And when I got up, they had this big motorcycle vest I had on, the sleeveless thing, real thick cowhide. It was shredded, dude. It was like blood was pouring. It was so grotesque that I almost passed out. Almost passed out because I was like, I literally said to him, I said, guys, I just got to sit down for just a second. Can I sit down? Can I just sit down? And I sat down. I did it a few more times, but I think that was a freaking dangerous stunt, right?
Yeah, it was, Kirk. It was a dangerous stunt that you should not have done. Correct.
Holy smoke. And I did my own fall, but they had a stunt guy there too. The stunt guy ended up doing his version of the fall. I like mine better, but that last flip and arm going up is him.
Oh.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just happy when the Giggler was killed. I have to just say, I really was. So evil.
Did you guys take anything from set? Like, this is early on in all of your careers. Did you guys keep any mementos or anything?
I think I got when we shot in East New York, in Brooklyn, we shot in a really terrible neighborhood that we were in an abandoned building, and they found a head in a mailbox on the corner. Do you remember that, you guys?
No.
They found a decapitated head in a mailbox. There was hypodermic needles all over the ground. I mean, it was really, really messed up. My point being, you didn't really want anything from the set of Death Wish 3. I mean, I kind of wanted the head. I'm not sure where I would have put it in my apartment, but
no, it's true. It was really a nasty. Everywhere we were was nasty. And then we'd run back to our hotel and like, where are we going to dinner? It's like,
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
I had so much fun on that. I kept a shirt, I think, and I had the do-rag for a while. And that do-rag was added at the very last second. The costumer says, how about a hat that makes you look fast? How about you look fast? And they put me this thing on me. And, of course, I had like the flappy thing that would, when I would run, it would go in the wind. So I think I kept that, and I kept the shirt that was from Streetwalking originally, and I guess they recreated it or something. So I had one of the shirts. But that's long gone in my New York days.
Alex, I remember that like Jessica Tandy's granddaughter was our accountant for the film, Tarn.
Right.
And her father was Jessica Tandy and Hume Cronin were her grandparents. Some crazy thing. And I was like, why are you working on this film? Like, you should not be. You're from royalty. Yeah. I'm some Greek dude from Queens. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense that you're here. Like, and she was just the strangest, nicest. I remember there were so many quirky people working in Michael Winner's universe that you just knew that there was something beyond Michael Winner being an utter and total hack. That he was once potentially a very good director. And I remember, Alex, you telling me that once, like he had actually made his first film were actually well-reviewed films where he was considered a filmmaker. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He made The Mechanic, the Louis John Carlin movie, one of the best Bronson movies of all of them. He made a Brando movie that's not bad. I mean, he started out like making films. I think that it seemed to me that by the time we got Death Wish 3, like whatever his peccadillos were, to put it as nicely as possible, had kind of overtaken his craft.
Gambling. You know? That's what I heard.
Yeah. Gambling and debauchery and sort of controlling people and manipulating people. I remember seeing The Stuntman with Peter O'Toole and going, "Oh,
it's
holy
Michael
shit, that's
Winner.
Michael Winner!" Like that's 100% based on Michael Winner.
What a great analogy!
But you guys are right. Like it was a set because he had came from a fairly well-to-do family in the UK, so he was fairly well off, and you know how England works in terms of he was of a certain class, so he had a certain respect for that alone. Then he had a career, so 100% our set was comprised of some really great people who had done incredible work. But that was also a feature of Cannon movies. I found like if you ended up on a Cannon picture, they would often manage to get people who had a pedigree just making schlock. And that happened, on a few Cannon movies that I was either in or around. And thankfully, for me, I was always grateful because it just made the experience better. Like we had great crew. And it made the experience much more enjoyable.
I remember that Michael had set up a dining room. We would go off to get online and eat from the trough. The slop house. And then you'd peek into this room and there'd be like white linens and waiters and Charles would be sitting there with his wife and whoever, Deborah Raffin, and they would all be like getting served like beautiful meals. Yeah. And then we were like outside, all the time. Yeah. Every time Michael Winner had a meal, it was exactly like 5-star restaurant service,
Yeah. But if you remember in the hospital once we got there, it was like something out of Dickens. That room they were in had windows that looked down onto the slop house. Do you remember that? The windows literally, they were way up here, like on the factory boss, and we were like way down here on these like broad tables. Like,
oh yeah, I remember that.
Twist.
I remember that.
Please, sir.
I remember that Charles, when he was into me for changing my last name, he was really working me hard. He actually said, "I want you to come to lunch. Have lunch. You're going to have lunch with me." And
right.
With him.
Us?
And
Wow.
and Michael Winter goes, "Charlie, no, you can't, no," and he wouldn't allow it. And I got.
No, he's a workhouse boy, Charlie.
No, Charles. No, and Charles was like, "All right, listen." I go, "Maybe if I change my name to Tony Spirit, he'll let me eat with you." But yeah, no, Charles was like the nicest person. I remember being flabbergasted at Charles Bronson, the Image, the movie star. And then this guy, and he was getting on in age, but I remember the way he loved his wife. Like, I remember the way he doted on her when she was ever around. He was such a gentleman. Like, it was kind of,
he was
he was
a very
a
gentle person
thing. And I'll always, that's what I remember most about working with Charles Bronson, is that he was a complete gentleman, like unbelievably so,
He was,
He was thoughtful too. I remember when I first showed up on set, I'm very nervous. I'm in costume with the freaking mark that you got there, Doug, on my forehead. And there's Bronson. I was like, I went up to him and said, "Hello, Mr. Bronson. I'm Kirk Taylor. I'm playing the giggler." He said, Jill, come over here. I want you to meet Kirk Taylor. He's playing one of the heavies. That's where I first heard the term. I had never been called a heavy before. And he was just kind of took a picture. I got a great picture. I have it sitting on. Let me grab it real quick.
I would argue that Kirk is really the only heavy in the movie, I have to say.
Alex, 100.
No offense to either.
I ended up using this picture like so much.
Get out of here!
That's great.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah,
How come I don't
job.
have anything like that? I was too stupid. I knew I wasn't a bad guy. I don't
have any pictures from that. I have
zero.
literally zero pictures from that.
If you had changed your name to Tony Spirit, you'd have a whole wall full of pictures.
But you know what, Kirk? Alex just said something while you were getting the picture. You really were fantastic and the only true villain in the entire movie. I really mean that.
Yeah,
I would argue that.
I would go so far as to say you're about the only performance.
Exactly. I think that's true.
And I was so green. I mean, I remember at one point Tony helped me. We were in a scene and we were up there with a girl was smoking the cigarette with the big boobs, the black girl. That was Michael's girlfriend, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. But he smoked this. That was Michael's girlfriend. Because I tried. Her name is Sandy. And at one point I was talking.
He kept going in and cutting her shirts. He'd have a cigar right in her face. And he would just cut her shirts with a giant pair of scissors right before the.
And I liked her. She was, she looked good to me. And so we were in the slop house, Alex, where he looked down and I was talking to her. He said, "Mr. Taylor," he screamed at me to get away from him. And her name was Sandy. And I didn't know the British thing, which was, she said, "Yes, my name is Sandy. Randy Sandy." I said, "Randy Sandy?" I said, "Your name's actually." I actually screamed that, and I didn't know Randy meant horny.
I remember that.
Randy meant horny.
You called her that for the rest of the shoot, though. Yeah.
Randy Sandy. And Tony helped me in that scene with her. Michael said, I remember Michael saying, "That's hilarious," because she was sitting there smoking a cigarette, and behind her is like 5 or 6 guys, so implying that there's some action that took place. And that was Randy Sandy's scene, and Michael just wanted me to stay away from her. He really wanted me to stay away from her. That was his girl.
Right. Good Lord.
How physical did you guys get with Bronson? Because he was like 63, 64 at the time.
I don't think we had any scenes where we had to get physical.
I did. No,
did you, Kirk?
I did. Because when the scene, he gets the ice cream, he puts the Nikon camera over his back as bait, and he comes out. I see it. And when I did it the first time, I'm supposed to give him a push. So I was like, okay, well, he's 60. I'm gonna just. He looked 70 to me, to tell you the truth, but I pushed him a little bit. He said, "Son, push me harder." I was like, "Okay, Mr. Bronson, okay." And so then I did it again, but she said, "No, son, push me hard, push me hard." I was like, I'm going to end up being the guy that kills Charles Bronson on set. I was going to hurt him. I thought I was going to hurt him. And so I did what he asked, and I pushed the shit out of him and pushed him into the fence. And he bounced off the fence and then reached into his jacket and pulled out that 5-foot gun.
Yeah, the Wildy. Wildy's here.
Yeah.
Wildy is here.
So I roughed him up a little bit, but he wanted it. He actually he asked me at least 2-3 times to push him harder and harder. And I didn't want to do it. I felt, I was going to hurt him.
You gave in. That's why you got the photo. Tony didn't give in, and that's why no photo.
I was playing footsie.
Tony Spirit.
I was saying that in that scene, Tony, I was like a little lost. I didn't know how to do it. And you actually you coached me during that scene.
I should have been a coach. What did I say? What did I say to you? I said,
it was something about saying, no, this is what he's trying to say. What you're supposed to be saying is this. This is what it means. Because I didn't understand how it fit into the context of things.
I was like,
dude, you channeled my inner giggler.
I'm glad at least somebody did some scene analysis.
To think that is horrifying.
Tony,
that was literally
I couldn't figure out Angel for the life of me. I was like, what? I'm helping you. I was lost.
You really helped me. I mean, it helped me.
I can't find that in any of the Stellar Adler books that I read, but it's at least somebody somewhere provided some scene analysis.
Oh,
I love Stella. I did.
We're getting right on to like an hour, but I just wanted to ask about the gentleman Ed Lauter. I never knew until I was doing research. I saw him in one of like the last Hitchcock movies a few weeks back, and I go on his Wikipedia, and he was a stand-up comedian. Was this like one of his like early roles? Because in the Hitchcock movie, it's with Bruce Dern. I think they forget the name of it, but he's like really silly. He's like kind of playing like a dumb kind of person. But in this movie, he's like a badass. I don't know if this is like the first time that he did that, but what was he like on set?
He was really nice. He was the one who shoots me in the movie, so I got to spend some time with him. And he was incredibly nice. I mean, he was doing a lot of sort of cop heavier roles by then. That was very much the kind of
type role.
Type. Yeah. So it didn't seem off model. I mean, the only person who Tony mentioned earlier, the only head scratcher on that movie for me was Marty Balsam. I mean, I didn't for the life of me understand why he was there. And honestly, Balsam did not understand why he was there. Like,
he was living in an old folks home on the Upper West Side. And And
Are you serious?
What's his daughter's? I was friends with his daughter who married George Clooney. Anyway, and she told me that it was because he just wanted to work and Michael loved him. And it was one of those things where they knew each other and it was like, hey, if Marty Balsam wants to work, we'll find a place for him, because he didn't know where he was even, Alex. He really
didn't. Yeah, I mean, he had no idea what was going on. And and he didn't understand the movie and like where he fit in it or anything. But everyone else I felt was had a really good attitude and the Lauder, those who got to eat at that table that we did not were all incredibly lovely. And not classicists. Like, nobody was looking down. I mean, Winter, even in his own way, was I mean, someone said it before. He kind of saw himself as one of the gang. In a somewhat sad way, I think it wasn't reciprocated, just to the degree that, like, I mean, he could be pretty brutish and offensive on set. So there was a kind of divide between the whole crew and him in a way. And we all kind of just had each other's backs, and that went shot straight through the cast, including Deborah Raffin and Lauder and everybody. And Bronson had this attitude of like, look, I get it. You get it. Let's have some fun. And we all have each other's backs, I think was the vibe.
In terms of, there was a crew member. I want to see if you guys remember him. There was a guy on crew. I think his name was Mike. He was probably in his 40s, and he had a gigantic scar from the top of his chest all the way down. He had been stabbed when someone had asked him I remember, I just love that guy. He said somebody had asked him for money on the street in London. He said, "What do I look like, a freaking bank?" And the guy took out a knife and literally almost cut his heart in half. And do you remember him? God. He had a dark scar, dark hair, kind of like a little beat up, but he made it. He was on set with us. I just remember I kind of like gravitated toward him because I know he had been through a lot. But he was a good guy, and he spoke his mind to someone that didn't want to hear it.
Right. Everybody was great. The AD was great. I remember his name. He was hilarious and had done a ton of huge movies. And obviously we had Stanier shooting it, who was a legend. I mean, there were certain people on that set who had made incredible films. It was really, it was a lot of fun chit chat, but no one was under the illusion that this was one of them.
Right. Is this film like a launching pad for the rest of your careers? Did it help at all?
For me, for sure. Well, I mean, I got Full Metal Jacket from that, and that kind of changed my category. It was like, oh, you were in one of Stanley Kubrick's films, the ones he makes every 7 years? Oh, very good. And it kind of, people looked at me a little differently after that. Then I did School Days with Spike Lee, and everybody, and Full Metal Jacket was coming out that year. And I was in Atlanta shooting. So it definitely kind of steered me in a different direction and gave me a certain, I mean, because how many Kubrick films are actually made? I mean, he even said to me, either Matthew or Leon Vitale, he said, tell Kirk that we're going to work together on something big. And I was like, something big? How much did he spent like 150, whatever it was, million on this film. He said, no, a bigger role. And so when Eyes Wide Shut came out, I said, okay, maybe it's this one. And then I remember I was at NYU, and I think I was in school. No, I was living in the area, and I went to get a pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream, the kind that they used to make honey vanilla. They don't make it anymore. And I went, and I remember I saw a magazine there, and it said, retrospective of the work of Stanley Kubrick. I said, oh man, they're doing like a thing for Stanley, just his work. And then I realized he had died. I didn't know he was gone. And I remember thinking, there goes that big role.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think that, I don't know if it was a launching pad. I think that I certainly got recognized for it a lot.
Oh, yeah, man.
People would come up to me in the street and they still do, funnily enough. I have people come up to me just about Death Race 3 to this day. So there's an iconic quality to the film. So I think that, but I don't know. I don't know if it did, to be honest with you. It's a good question. I hadn't really ever thought of it that way. I'd been doing a lot of theater before I did that movie, and I kind of, went to NYU Film School around that time.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly there's an awareness of it, and I get recognized for it. And now, I saw, there's a lot of filmmakers who know the movie really well. A lot of filmmakers love Winter in a kind of, whatever, somewhat satirical way, but still enjoy his work, however crazy it is. So it didn't disappear. Like a lot of canon movies are just like, it's like they never got made. This definitely survived. And that's, I think that's kind of cool, frankly.
I did too.
Thankfully, Kirk was thankfully good enough that it's not a complete embarrassment to watch for me. But it's not like I watch it and go, no, that's some really good acting, right?
Yeah,
that Hermosa.
I think
really
for
bringing
me, it opened up the UK as a place for me to work, and it was that was for me the best of all possible things that could have happened, because I went from job to job. I did The American Way with Dennis Hopper, and then I did Full Metal Jacket, and then from Full Metal Jacket I went to meet. I never left London. And then I went to the miniseries, which took me to Spain for like 4 months. It was a mini.
Oh, that's big. That's big.
2-part. It was 3
Yeah,
parts.
that's great.
It was going to be a feature film, and then it showed on ABC as a miniseries, and so it was like getting me out of my routine. I had gotten into film. It was my first feature, in movie. Like, I hadn't done a movie. I'd done television, but I hadn't done a feature film. So it was such a wonderful way to introduce me to like being with cast and living together and like what that's like. And yeah, it made me, I think from whatever year we did this in, not soon after, I was making my first feature film as a writer, so
yeah.
And I remember being on that set and thinking, God, these guys are not nearly as much fun on Queen's Logic as they were on Death Race 3. Like, I don't want to hang out with any of these guys. Like, it was like really weird. To be your first experience on a film and have it be with these guys, and in that kind of mythical, like, are we in a shitstorm? Are we in the worst movie ever? And yet, we're touching like the cinematographer. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Alex. I learned, a lot about, being an actor from Kirk. And, so for me to be with these two guys in that setting, it was a great first job in a film for me. It was the best, really.
Yeah, I think that's how I feel about it too. It's like I don't know if I look at it in the context of my career because I haven't thought about it that way, but it was a very, very important part of my life, and it was the first movie part I really had, and being a film student and a fan of movies, and having come mostly from theater as a child actor. I mean, I've been on TV commercial sets and stuff, but I hadn't done a film like this, and it certainly was helpful for me moving forward. Like it gave me a foundation from which to grow. As crazy as that sounds, it being Death Wish 3. But it's true. But it's like it's, because of these guys and sort of the friendship that was formed and sort of how we covered each other, but also the fact that you did have a pretty extraordinary crew. I mean, there was very, very high-end people on that set, and the banter during the day while we were working was about pretty big projects that they'd worked on. There was a lot to learn if you had your eyes and ears open, which of course is what a movie set really, you have so much downtime that like oftentimes it doesn't matter what the film is. It's like, what's the environment? And sort of like, the Tony's experience on the Kubrick thing, I'm sure was similar where, yeah, it sucks if something that you're in either ends up bad or you end up cut out or whatever. But films are such kind of seismic experiences that just being on that set changes you in some way, And
then also, for me, the fact that we were shooting in London, I remember when they told me we were going to London, and all of a sudden all the boundaries pushed back. It was like saying, I could go to London? I mean, it kind of expanded the possibilities of what we could do. Because you're like, there are other countries here. I mean, just the traveling aspect of it. I had my first passport. Michael said, get a passport. So I got my passport for the very first time, and it was like the world opened up. Totally. I think for all of us, really. I mean, it showed us something. It opened our vision up to say, wow, there's so much out here, so many places to go, and so many things to do.
This was so cool. Seeing you guys get back together, and hopefully you guys get together for like a lunch. Maybe not with this. Don't go out in public with this on your forehead, but this has been so cool. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So thank you. What a cool idea, actually.
Yeah. We gotta definitely stay in touch. I miss you guys. It was so great. Yeah.
Invite us to the reunion.
When was the last time you guys saw each other?
It's been years.
I haven't seen Kirk, and I've seen Tony more recently than Kirk, but that's still many years ago. So
I haven't seen you guys since the film.
I haven't seen you since the film, Kirk. Now, I think you and I hooked up right after because we were both in New York, but like around when it came out.
Yeah, you sent me to see Dr. Shapiro. Remember your mom?
That's right.
His mom says, yeah, Alex was falling asleep in class and he couldn't concentrate. And so I took him to Dr. Shapiro. It was his eyes. And he gave Alex all these eye action. I did it too. I went to him. I wasn't very disciplined about doing it because you had these lenses you had to use. You had a chopstick that you had to put on stuff you had to do.
He's still working. He came to my premiere in New York last year.
Really?
He's still at it.
Oh,
if
man.
I'm in
I would
LA,
love to go see him again.
My mom still talks about you.
Please get me.
Oh, please, yes.
That's going to happen. For sure.
Did you hear that?
Sweet, guys.
Thank you so much.
Hey, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks,
successful
Alex.
reunion.
Thank you,
Kirk.
Doug. The sequel, dude.
Thank you.
This was I didn't know what it was, but
Thank you.
I'm all in. Thank you.
Sweet.
All right, guys.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.